Hey, so I'm Avivit Fisher. I'm the owner of Red Strategy. It's a marketing consultancy for therapists.
Mhm.
And today I'm having a conversation with Sarah, who's a virtual assistant for therapists. And we connected on Instagram actually, and I thought it would be really cool to talk about it because um, therapists need a lot of help doing all their non-billable work. And I just wanted to ask a lot of questions that I'm sure that a lot of therapists are asking themselves about
Mhm.
the type of work that you do, right?
Yeah,
So maybe you should tell a little bit about your business and who you work with and what
yeah,
you do. Mhm.
absolutely. So my name is Sarah Herman, and I'm a virtual assistant to a therapist and psychologist in private practice. And I have been in the mental health field for a little bit. I'm also in grad school. And before going to grad school, I worked in a small business. It was retail, but I learned a lot about what goes into running a business and all the different pieces of it. And I just went from a person that was like, oh, I could never be a business owner to like, no, I love this. This is actually really fun and it can be figured out. It's a lot of work, but like with the right support, businesses can be run well. And so, anyway, as I was like transitioning into mental health fields, I actually recently made a move and started to look for remote work. And I learned about a virtual assistant. And I was like, man, therapists do need help running their businesses. Like they're not only therapists and like clinicians working with clients all day, but they also have to do a lot of the back end work themselves. I was starting to realize as my friends went into private practice. So I learned to like marry my love for administrative tasks and what I learned in managing small business and wanted to apply it to working with therapists, which is where I also hope to be one day. So I work with therapists, psychologists, either starting their private practices or maybe they've already been in private practice for a while. So I kind of help either starting up or on the day-to-day management side of things.
Awesome. Well, I think that anybody who has love for administrative tasks deserves a special award, in my opinion. No, these are the tasks that really we kind of procrastinate on, and like not only
Ah,
therapists, but any business owner, really, right?
totally. Yeah. You don't
Just
get into it to like send emails and like do those kinds of paperwork.
right. So, I mean, so in general, what is the job of a virtual assistant? What do you do? What kind of tasks?
Yeah. So I like to think of it like the traditional office assistant, the way that we've always thought about it. It's that, but online. So a lot of virtual assistants have different specialties. So some do social media management. Um, but I am kind of more in the realm of that, like a basic administrative tasks, like need help managing my practice,
Hmm.
responding to clients within 24 hours, maybe responding to voicemails. In the startup realm, helping you get set up with your HIPAA compliant email and phone and logo and business cards and maybe even a website and kind of all of the administrative things that go into running a practice. I've helped to put together like employee manuals if a therapist is starting to transition into a group practice and wanting to hire other therapists. So a lot of just administrative things that go into the back end. So I've done a lot of different types of projects with my clients.
That's great. So I'm thinking, like, I'm trying to calculate in my head, like, how much time do you save your clients on average?
Oh, so much. I like there, I've even done credentialing, like assisted in the credentialing process of just keeping track of like, okay, we're working on this application, and we need these forms, and then we can submit it. But I mean, I think that that's why being a virtual assistant for therapists is such a great thing and such a need, is because therapists don't have the capacity at the end of the day. Either they're working at their 9 to 5 agency job and trying to start a private practice, right?
Hmm.
They don't have anything left to give in like researching how to get credentialed or researching what needs to be done with this in their practice. And so I think I'm here to kind of be that extra capacity that they don't have at the end of the day, that goes into their business.
Right. And I'm assuming like the difference between a virtual assistant and just having an assistant in their office is that, they can hire you for a project, right? They can hire you for a specific time,
Yeah.
as opposed to have an employee with them all the
Yeah.
time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that like business ebbs and flows, and even in getting started, you're not always 100% sure what support that you need. So obviously I can come in and like be like, okay, these are the things that I know that you need to get set up and we can
Uh-huh.
do. But over time, we might need to make you some letterhead or adjust your logo here or, work on this project over here. And so I often will do it on like a month contract or even 2-week basis to try to provide that flexibility for my clients, because I know that it just goes up and down and your needs are ever changing.
Right, right. So you actually go and like create logos for them, or do you communicate with the designers that they're hiring? Or how does that go?
Yeah, I've actually just used Canva to kind of create simple
Yeah,
logos for my clients. It's really works well so far. Obviously, I'm not a graphic designer
yeah.
in trade, so it's pretty basic, but a lot of times it works for what my clients need in getting started in their private practice.
Right. It's just getting them unstuck, right? Like 'cause some people can get stuck on like little details like that, and it's hard to move forward, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, one of my clients, she's a psychologist and she graduated in 2020, did her
Mhm.
postdoc and like had been meaning to start her private practice for like at least 6 months to a year, but didn't know what tracks to start going down and just felt overwhelmed with the process of figuring it all out, and as soon as we started working together, like she was up and running in like 2 weeks, and now she's going at it in private practice and it's been several months. So yeah, a lot of times you're right. It's just that like getting unstuck, and even having someone in that with you is really helpful. Like therapists need support, and that's what I'm passionate about. And right now I can do that administratively. Hopefully one day I can do it clinically too.
I'm sure you're going to be very successful because you have all of this administrative muscle that you're going to be doing. But I'm thinking about because I just recently worked during the summer. I worked with a few clients who are starting a private practice,
Yeah.
and they were very driven. They accomplished the goals because we were working on marketing specifically. But I know that they were so overwhelmed with little things, with little tasks that they had to do.
Mhm.
And the process takes a while to start a private practice. But if
Mhm.
you're not on top of those little details, right, it can take so much longer. You can just drag it on and on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, especially because a lot of times people start a private practice while they're still working at a different agency because
Right.
they're transitioning, trying to do it in this really smart way of like building your practice a little bit, getting a few clients, trying to build some income there before completely leaving your other job. And I think you're right that a lot of times it's just those little details that can get hung up on and stuck and need help with. So honestly, like I've found that having someone whose job it is, which is me, to like
Hmm.
make sure we get those details done and help even remind you what those details are and what we're doing next, and helping show the progress and celebrate the progress can be really motivating.
That's right. That's true. But you also mentioned, besides the people who are starting a private practice, you also mentioned that you help people transition to a group practice, for example. So, what kind of tasks do you help them with when they are doing this transition, when they're growing?
Yeah, so this is actually one of my new clients. So she wanted to put together like an employee manual um,
Hmm.
to get set up to hire practice. I'm also helping her make a like hiring flyer and help her do a logo. I'm going to start on a website for her. And I did some research also just within the MFT organization in her state, just to understand what different forms that she needed to use in hiring, make sure she covers all her bases legally. So it's kind of like that research piece and getting started, because she was like, I know that I want to start hiring associate MFTs. And so I need to make sure that I'm like, ticking all the boxes. So she brought me on to kind of help do some of that research and some of those startup tasks.
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, Right. And because you're working with the therapists in different states, probably like all over the country, there's a specific research that you need to do for each state, right? And it's
Yeah, and a lot of it can be pretty similar, but it's important to also do the research within that state in terms of what's needed legally. And again,
awesome.
I'm not like a legal expert, but even just like getting some of that research going and presenting them with a list of like, okay, this is what I know that we need to do so far, and it's a good place to start.
Yeah. Well, they're not legal experts either, but
Mhm.
but if you're taking the weight of them, because you're seeing clients, um, providing therapy and on top of that doing all of this work is tiring. It can lead to exhaustion, burnout for many people. So I think that if somebody can alleviate their work by hiring a virtual assistant to just help them with that, it's even if it's for a specific period of time, not for years, but it's a huge benefit in boosting your business,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually with the burnout like that. I've had my own burnout story even before entering the mental health field. And that's like the main issue that I want to focus on, even as I'm entering the field through grad school and getting
Mhm.
licensed myself, is that like burnout is such a problem and at so many levels. And I want therapists to be well supported and well cared for. And I think right now supporting them, yeah, with by basically doing some research that they need or doing some tasks is a way that I know to do that right now.
That's right. So, yeah, and burnout is one of the main causes for people to close their private practice, actually, like if you look at statistics. So when you work, you work with therapists, but you also have go-to people when that you have to reach out, like lawyers and people that maybe like answer your questions or accountants and stuff like that. Do you have a network that you reach out to?
So I actually started earlier this year, and I don't have any accountants or lawyers to reach out to yet. That's actually a great idea. I know I'm going to go figure some out. But what I've used actually is there's some really great therapists that have created like private practice roadmaps and courses
Mhm.
that I've learned a great deal from. So Private Practice Pro is one of them. But I've learned so much from other therapists that have like basically similarly to you, like helping either on the marketing side of things or are consultants for therapists in private practice, and they've been in it for a long time. I've learned so much. There's so much online that I've learned in how to get started. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. When I started, I also learned a lot from therapists because I come from a marketing side
yeah,
and I wanted to work with therapists. And I was just like, well, I think they need help. But then I was like, I needed to validate my idea. And
yeah,
I listened to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of information. I went to a mental health marketing conference that happens every year. And actually, this year I'm going to be presenting there, so I'm very excited about that. But
yeah,
but there's just so much information out there, and we can all learn from each other. It's just we have to have the time,
yeah,
and therapists don't always have the time. And
yeah,
so people like you and me um, are can be very helpful in that process.
yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times it does like take to like putting together a little team where you're like the marketing expert, right? And I can do some of the like paperwork side of things and some of the emails and more administrative things. And then a lot of my clients do consult with like their own CPA or um different things like that. I also started to help a little bit with billing. Um, so a lot of times therapists, I feel like, end up being able to put together like a little team that helps support them in their practice.
Awesome. So I see my video froze a little bit. So,
Yeah.
so, so I'm just gonna ask the last question and we can wrap up because I think it's a lot of information in the short video. So
Yeah.
what do you wish people knew more about the type of work that you do that they might not know?
Great question. Do I wish? I think that they will be pleasantly surprised that getting the right support, either in starting out in private practice or once you're already in it, really can help give you a lot of time and space back and maybe mental energy and help you enjoy the process of being a business owner and a therapist in private practice more. Because I think sometimes that joy can fall by the wayside in the midst of like feeling so overwhelmed by all of it. And so I think that that's a really nice bonus that some of my clients don't expect, of feeling that sense of relief that someone is taking care of this thing that they're trying to work on and get help with in their practice. So I think maybe, yeah, the like emotional and even relational side of it ends up being a really, really nice part of it. Not only getting a bunch of things done for their business, but enjoying being a private practice owner or helping set them up to avoid burnout in the future.
Yeah, and that's major. That's incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that how can people find you? Just tell how people can find you and
Yeah.
we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at the Herman Creative. So there's a little link there that you'll see at the top of my bio that if you want to work with me, you'll fill out a little inquiry form and then we'll hop on a call and talk about what you're needing and how I can help.
All right. So, therapist, if you need a virtual assistant, Sarah is your girl. And if you need help with marketing, you can always contact me
Yeah.
and I will be happy to help you. And there is a lot of useful information on my website that you can learn from for free. So go ahead and head out to also redstrategy.com. And hopefully it was helpful to all of you. I know it was helpful to me. So